I'm 78 years old, and I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. For 52 years of my life, I believed a lie so convincing, so widely accepted, that I never once questioned it. I built my entire existence around this lie. I sacrificed relationships for it. I traded my health for it. I gave up dreams I didn't even know I had. And now, sitting here at 78, I finally see the truth. I was wrong about everything. You're probably thinking, another old person telling me to slow down and smell the roses. But that's not what this is. This isn't some greeting card wisdom. This isn't a gentle suggestion. This is a warning. Something happened to me 6 years ago that shattered everything I thought I knew about life, about success, about what actually matters when you're running out of time. And I'm going to tell you exactly what it was. But first, I need you to understand something. The things I'm about to share. Nobody told me when I was your age. Nobody pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you're heading in the wrong direction." Nobody warned me that the life I was building would leave me hollow, so I'm going to be that person for you. I'm going to tell you what I wish someone had told me at 25, at 35, at 45, before I wasted decades chasing something that didn't exist. Are you ready to hear it? Because once you hear this, you can't unhear it. Once you see what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee it. And that might be the greatest gift anyone ever gives you, or the most uncomfortable truth you've ever faced. Either way, you need to hear this. 6 years ago, I had what doctors call a massive cardiac event. I was 72 years old. It was a Tuesday. I remember that because Tuesdays were always my busiest days. Back-to-back meetings, conference calls, strategy sessions. I was still consulting for 3 different companies, still proving I was relevant, still chasing something I couldn't name. I was in my home office, reviewing quarterly reports, numbers on a screen, profit margins, growth projections, the same things I'd been staring at for 5 decades. And then everything changed. It started with pressure in my chest, not sharp, not dramatic like in the movies, just this heavy squeezing sensation, like someone was sitting on my rib cage. I ignored it. That's what I always did, ignore the signals, push through. There's work to be done. But then my left arm went numb and the room started spinning and suddenly I couldn't breathe. The next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed, machines beeping, tubes everywhere. My wife Margaret holding my hand, tears streaming down her face. The doctor told me I'd been dead for nearly 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Do you know what goes through your mind when someone tells you that you died? That your heart actually stopped? That you were gone from this world and somehow came back? I'll tell you what went through mine. Nothing. Complete silence. For the first time in 52 years, my mind went quiet. No plans, no strategies, no lists of things to accomplish. Just emptiness. And in that emptiness, a question appeared, a question that changed everything. The doctor was still talking, statistics about heart disease, recommendations for diet and exercise, warnings about stress reduction. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was thinking about my life, really thinking about it, maybe for the first time ever. And the question kept getting louder. If I had died that Tuesday, really died permanently, would I have been satisfied with the life I lived? I couldn't answer yes. I couldn't even come close to yes. I had built a successful career, made good money, earned respect in my industry, raised 3 children, been married for 47 years. On paper, my life looked perfect, but lying in that hospital bed, facing my own mortality, I realized something devastating. I had spent 52 years living for someday, and someday never came. I had postponed joy, delayed dreams, sacrificed experiences, told myself there would be time later. Later for what? Later almost never happened. Later almost killed me. And in that moment, with tubes in my arms and monitors tracking my heartbeat, I made a decision. If I got a second chance, if God or the universe or pure luck gave me more time, I would stop waiting. I would finally start living. Let me tell you how I got to that hospital bed. Let me show you the pattern I followed for 52 years, because I guarantee you're following the same one right now. When I was 26, I got my first real job, entry-level position at a manufacturing company, and I thought to myself, when I get promoted, then I'll relax, then I'll take that vacation, then I'll spend more time with Margaret. So I worked 60 hours a week, sometimes 70, weekends too. I got the promotion, and you know what happened? The goalposts moved. When I become a manager, then I'll slow down. I became a manager. When I'm a director, then I'll have more control of my time. I became a director. When I'm a vice president, then I'll finally have the freedom to live the life I want. Vice president at 43, and nothing changed. The pattern just kept repeating. When I make more money, then I'll be happy. When I buy the bigger house, then I'll feel successful. When I achieve this next goal, then I'll finally be satisfied. I was on a hamster wheel, running faster and faster, getting nowhere that mattered. At 35, I wanted to take my family to Europe. Margaret had always dreamed of seeing Paris. The kids were young enough to still think traveling with Dad was exciting. But there was a big project at work, a critical deadline. I couldn't possibly take 2 weeks off, so I waited. At 45, I thought about writing a book. I had ideas, stories from my career, lessons I'd learned. I even bought a journal and started outlining chapters. But work was too demanding. I didn't have the energy. Maybe when things calmed down. So I waited. At 55, I realized I barely knew my kids. They were adults now, living their own lives. And I'd missed it. I'd missed so much of it. But I told myself I'd make up for it in retirement. We'd have time then. We'd reconnect then. We'd build the relationships I'd neglected then. So I waited. Again, always waiting, always postponing, always convinced there would be more time. Here's what nobody tells you about waiting. The time you're saving up, it doesn't accumulate, it just disappears. You can't bank it, you can't withdraw it later. Every moment you postpone is a moment you lose forever. And while you're waiting for life to begin, life is happening without you. I had the career, I had the money, I had the house, I had the respect, but I didn't have presence, I didn't have connection, I didn't have joy. I had achievements, I had accomplishments, I had an impressive resume, but I was empty. I looked in the mirror at 72 and didn't recognize the man staring back at me. He looked tired, hollow, like a shell of a person who had forgotten why he was running. That man had everything society told him to want, and he had nothing that actually mattered. Let me tell you the biggest lie you're probably telling yourself right now. I have time. I'll do that later. When I'm older, I'll finally live the life I want. Let me save you 52 years of regret with one simple truth. That day never comes. There is no magical future where everything calms down. There is no retirement paradise where you finally have enough time. There is no someday. There is only today, and you're wasting it. I know because I wasted mine, decade after decade. Telling myself the same lie, believing it with everything I had. Here's another lie I believed. Success will make me happy. I climbed the ladder. I hit every target. I exceeded every expectation. I built a career that looked impressive from the outside. And you know what? None of it mattered. Because here's what nobody tells you about success. When you achieve it, you feel good for about 5 minutes. Then you start looking for the next thing. The next goal, the next achievement, the next rung on the ladder. Success is a terrible goal. It's a moving target, and the more you chase it, the more it runs away. I say this as someone who achieved everything I set out to achieve. And I'm telling you, none of it made me happy, not for long, not in any way that lasted. You know what made me happy? The fishing trips I took with my son. Before work got too busy, the Sunday dinners with extended family. before I decided I was too important to attend, the quiet evenings with Margaret before I started bringing work home every night, simple things, connection things, human things. But I sacrificed them all for success, for achievement, for proving something I didn't need to prove. Let me tell you about my friend Richard. Richard and I started our careers at the same time, same company, same entry-level position. We used to have lunch together every day, talk about our dreams, our plans, what we wanted from life. Richard wanted to climb higher than me, work harder than me, achieve more than me, and he did. CEO by 50, private jets, multiple homes, featured in magazines, the whole thing. Richard died at 63, heart attack, like mine. But his didn't give him a second chance. At his funeral, his son gave the eulogy, and I'll never forget what he said. My father was a very successful man, but I barely knew him. That's it. That's what a lifetime of achievement bought him. A son who barely knew his own father. Is that the legacy you want? Is that the eulogy you're working toward? Because every hour you spend chasing success is an hour you're not spending on the things that actually matter. I learned that lesson at 72 in a hospital bed after dying for 3 minutes. Don't wait that long. You want to know what keeps me up at night? Not the deals I didn't close, not the promotions I missed, not the money I could have made. None of that. What keeps me up is much simpler, much more painful. It's the trip to Paris I never took with Margaret. She asked me about it for 20 years. 20 years. She had brochures. She had itineraries planned. She would show me pictures of the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre and little cafes along the Seine. And every year I said the same thing. Next year, honey, when things calm down at work. Things never calmed down. Margaret died 3 years ago. Stroke. Sudden. No warning. She never saw Paris. And I have to live with that every single day, knowing I could have given her that dream, knowing all it would have cost me was 2 weeks and some money I would never have missed. But I was too busy, too important, too focused on things that meant nothing. That's regret number 1. Here's regret number 2. My son Michael's baseball games. He played Little League from age 8 to 14, 6 years of games, practices, tournaments, moments that mattered to him more than anything in the world. You know how many games I attended? Maybe 15 out of hundreds. I was always traveling, always in meetings, always putting out fires that seemed urgent at the time, but that I can't even remember now. Michael is 47 years old now. We talk maybe twice a year. Polite conversations, surface-level stuff, nothing real. He has kids of his own, grandchildren I barely know, and I understand why he keeps his distance. I wasn't there when he needed me. Why would he want me there now? Regret number 3, the book I never wrote. I told you I started outlining it at 45. I had a journal. I had ideas. I had something to say. That journal is still in my desk drawer. Pages yellowed, outline incomplete. Abandoned for 33 years. Every time I see it, I think about the person I could have been, the creative fulfillment I could have experienced, the legacy I could have left beyond quarterly reports and profit margins. But I was too tired after work, too drained, too convinced that writing was frivolous compared to real responsibilities. Now I'm 78. My hands shake. My mind isn't as sharp. The book I could have written at 45 is much harder to write now, maybe impossible. Regret number 4, my brother Thomas. We were close as kids, best friends really, did everything together, shared a room until I went to college. Then life happened. I moved away for work. He stayed in our hometown. We talked less and less, saw each other only at holidays, then only at funerals. 3 years ago, he called me, wanted to reconnect, said he missed me, suggested we take a trip together, brothers getaway, like when we were young. I said I was too busy, maybe next summer. Thomas died 8 months later, cancer nobody knew about until it was too late. We never took that trip. I never told him what he meant to me, and now I never can. Regret number 5. All the Sundays. My father lived until 91, sharp as a tack until the end. He used to call me every Sunday morning just to talk, just to connect, just to hear my voice. And I was always rushing him off the phone. Dad, I've got a lot going on today. Can we talk next week? Next week. He died on a Wednesday. I was in a meeting when I got the call. You know what I remember most about my father? Not his wisdom, not his stories, not the lessons he tried to teach me. I remember the hurt in his voice every time I rushed him off the phone. That's what I remember. These regrets don't fade with time. Let me tell you that right now. People say time heals all wounds. They're wrong. Some wounds just get deeper. Some regrets just get heavier. Some mistakes you carry forever. I carry mine every single day. When I wake up, when I go to sleep. When I see families at restaurants actually talking to each other. When I see fathers at their sons' games. When I see elderly couples holding hands, I carry them. And they're heavy, so heavy. After my heart attack, I made changes. Big changes, not because I suddenly became wise, not because I had some magical transformation, but because I was terrified of dying with those regrets, terrified of wasting whatever time I had left, terrified of looking back from my deathbed and seeing nothing but missed opportunities. First thing I did, quit consulting, all of it, every contract, every client, every obligation that was stealing my time. People thought I was crazy, 72 years old and still sharp. Why would I walk away from the income, from the prestige, from the identity I'd built? Because none of it mattered anymore. I'd been dead for 3 minutes, and not once in those 3 minutes did I think about my career. Second thing I did, started calling my kids, not just quick check-ins, real calls, long conversations, asking about their lives, actually listening. It was awkward at first. They weren't used to it. I wasn't used to it. Decades of distance don't disappear overnight. But I kept calling every week, no matter what. My daughter Sarah cried during one of those calls, told me she'd waited her whole life to hear me ask about her feelings, her dreams, her struggles, her whole life. And I'd been too busy to ask. Third thing I did, started traveling. I went to Paris alone for Margaret. I brought her photo to every place she'd wanted to see. The Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, those little cafes along the Seine. I sat there and cried like a baby, but I went, finally, 40 years too late, but I went. Then I went to Japan, a place I'd always wanted to see but never prioritized. Walked through ancient temples, watched cherry blossoms fall, felt like a child discovering the world for the first time at 73 years old. Fourth thing I did, started saying no. No to obligations that drained me. No to people who only wanted my time, not my presence. No to anything that didn't bring me joy or connection. For 52 years, I said yes to everything except what mattered. Now I say no to everything except what matters. And here's the thing that surprises me every single day. I'm happier now at 78, with less time ahead of me than I was at 40. When I thought I had all the time in the world. Isn't that something? I have more health problems, more limitations, more aches and pains. I've lost my wife, lost friends, lost opportunities I'll never get back. But I'm more at peace than I've ever been because I finally stopped waiting. I finally started living. Now let me talk directly to you. Yes, you, the person listening to this right now. I need to ask you a question, and I need you to answer honestly. Not what sounds good, not what you want to believe, the truth. If you died tomorrow, would you be satisfied with the life you've lived so far? Not, would people be impressed by your funeral? Not, did you achieve enough by society's standards? Just you, alone with yourself. Would you be satisfied? Take a moment, really think about it. Because I couldn't answer yes at 72, and I'd had 5 decades to build a life worth living. I suspect you can't answer yes either. I know what you're thinking right now, but I have responsibilities. I have bills to pay. I have people depending on me. I can't just drop everything and chase my dreams. I'm not telling you to drop everything. I'm telling you to stop lying to yourself. You have more choices than you think you do. You have more time than you claim you do. You have more power over your life than you're willing to admit. But it's easier to blame circumstances. It's easier to feel trapped. It's easier to tell yourself you'll live someday when life allows it. Life will never allow it. You have to take it. But I'm only 35, you might say. I have plenty of time. You don't. You don't know how much time you have. Nobody does. Richard thought he had time. Thomas thought he had time. Margaret thought she had time. They were wrong. And you might be wrong too. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to wake you up because somebody needed to wake me up at 35, at 45, at 55. Nobody did, so I'm doing it for you. That relationship you've been meaning to fix it now. That call you've been meaning to make it now. That dream you've been meaning to pursue, start now. That trip you've been meaning to take, book it now. That person you've been meaning to forgive them now. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. There's only now. And now is slipping away while you're not paying attention. I know you think you're different. I know you think you have it figured out. I know you think you'll somehow avoid the regrets that I carry. You won't. Not unless you change something. Today, right now, the pattern you're following. I followed it for 52 years. And it led me to a hospital bed and 3 minutes of death. You're on the same path, different details maybe, different career, different family, different circumstances, but the same pattern, working for someday, living for later, postponing joy until conditions are perfect. Conditions will never be perfect, and someday will never come, unless you make it come, unless you decide that today is the day you stop waiting. If I could go back and talk to my 26-year-old self, here's what I would tell him. Stop. Stop trying to impress people who don't matter. Your colleagues, your competitors, that boss who makes you feel small, none of them will be at your bedside when you're dying. None of them will remember you in 20 years. Stop sacrificing your life for their approval. Stop believing that more money will solve your problems. I made more money than I ever dreamed of making. It didn't make me happy. It didn't fill the emptiness. It just gave me more expensive ways to feel hollow. Stop postponing the things that bring you joy. That trip you want to take it. That hobby you want to try it. That person you want to spend time with them. Stop telling yourself there will be time later. Stop saying yes to everything. Every yes is a no to something else. Every obligation you accept is time stolen from something that might actually matter. Learn to say no. Learn to protect your time. It's the only thing you can never get back. Stop waiting for permission. Nobody is going to tap you on the shoulder and tell you it's okay to live your life. Nobody is going to give you a certificate that says you've earned the right to be happy. You have to give yourself permission. Today, start calling the people you love, not texting. Calling, hearing their voices, having real conversations. Do it every week. Make it non-negotiable, because one day those calls will stop being possible. Start being honest about what you want, not what you should want, not what looks good to others, what you actually want deep down, even if it scares you, even if it doesn't make sense. Be honest with yourself. Start taking care of your health, not tomorrow, not Monday, today. Your body is the only vehicle you get. I destroyed mine for a career, almost killed myself for quarterly projections. Don't make my mistake. Start doing something creative. Write, paint, play music, build something, express something that's uniquely you. Achievements fade, possessions disappear, but creation lasts. Start saying I love you out loud to the people who matter today, not at their funeral, not in a eulogy when they can't hear you. Now, while they're alive, while you're alive. If you want to take that trip, take it. Don't wait until you have more money. You'll never have enough. Don't wait until work calms down. It never will. Don't wait until your kids are older. They'll be gone before you know it. Take the trip now. If you want to change careers, change. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. It doesn't exist. Don't wait until you feel ready. You never will. Don't wait for everyone to approve. They won't. Make the change now. If you want to fix a relationship, fix it. Don't wait for the other person to apologize first. Your pride isn't worth it. Don't wait for the perfect words. There are no perfect words. Don't wait until you're less busy. You'll never be less busy. Pick up the phone now. The life you want to live is on the other side of action. Not planning, not thinking, not waiting. Action. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. I'm 78 now. I've been living, truly living, for only 6 years. 6 years out of 78. That's less than 8% of my life. And you know what? These have been the best 6 years of my existence. Not the most successful, not the most impressive, not the most productive, the best. I've seen more sunrises in 6 years than I saw in 52 years of working. I've had more meaningful conversations with my children than I had in their entire childhoods. I felt more peace in a single afternoon of doing nothing than I felt in decades of achievement. The irony isn't lost on me. When I was young, I had time but no wisdom. Now I have wisdom but limited time. Why does life work this way? Why do we only understand what matters when most of our life is behind us? I don't know, but I know this. You don't have to wait until 72. You don't have to wait for a heart attack. You don't have to wait for someone to die. You can learn the lesson now, today, while you still have time to use it. I would give anything to have those 52 years back. To have started living at 26 instead of 72. To have been present for my children's childhood. To have taken Margaret to Paris when she was young enough to walk through it without pain. I can't have those years back, but you still have yours. That's why I'm telling you this. That's why I'm sharing my regrets, my shame, my mistakes with strangers on the internet. Because if even one person hears this and decides to change something, if even one person puts down their phone and calls their parent, takes that trip, quits that soul-crushing job, tells someone they love them, then my wasted years will have meant something. That's what I want my legacy to be now. Not the career, not the achievements, not the things I accumulated. Just this, these words, this warning. Learn from my mistakes so you don't have to make your own. You have a choice right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you finish this video, right now. You can close this video and go back to your life, back to the hamster wheel, back to the postponing and the waiting and the telling yourself there's always more time. Or you can change something small, something real, something that moves you one step closer to the life you actually want to live. I can't make the choice for you. Nobody can. But I can tell you what happens if you choose to wait. You wake up at 78 years old. You look back at your life, and you see decades of postponed joy, missed connections, abandoned dreams. You see the trip you never took, the call you never made, the words you never said, the person you never became, and there's nothing you can do about it, because the time is gone. It slipped away while you were busy planning to live someday. Is that what you want? Is that the life you're choosing? Because every day you wait is a choice. Every moment you postpone is a decision. You're not trapped. You're choosing. And right now, in this moment, you can choose differently. Someday is not a day of the week, but today is. Today you can make that call. Today you can book that trip. Today you can start that project. Today you can tell someone you love them. Today you can begin living the life you've been postponing. The clock is ticking. It always has been. What are you going to do with your time? If this message reached you, if something I said made you think differently about your own life, I hope you'll share it. Not for me. I don't need views or subscribers. I'm 78. What would I do with them? Share it for the person in your life who needs to hear this. The friend who's drowning in work. The parent who never calls. The partner who keeps saying someday. Share it for them. And if you want to hear more, subscribe. I don't know how much time I have left. but I have more truths to share, more mistakes I've made that might help you avoid your own. Leave a comment too. Tell me what you're going to do differently. Tell me what you're going to stop waiting for. I read every comment. And at my age, reading your stories is one of the great joys of my life. Thank you for spending these minutes with me. Time is the most precious thing you have. I'm honored you gave some of yours to an old man with regrets. Now go live, really live, before it's too late.